And what you mentioned in your information. There are some states that allow it. There are some states that don't allow it. There are some states that are made up civil unions and so on and et cetera. So I'm not altogether sure that there is a society position.
Okay, does same-sex marriage confer the same benefits on society that heterosexual marriage does?
Sure.
So the fact that the only possible way that two gay people can bring new life into the world is through expensive procedures that many can't afford, and it will never be their actual offspring. It'll be the offspring of that person, another person. It conveys the exact same. Responsible procreation is something that gays and lesbians can engage in?
Okay, so let's answer your question. The question was, can same-sex marriages bestow the same benefits on the world? And what he told us was a benefit of the world is the production of children. So the answer to that is yes. You might have a particular version or particular view of that, which is different from the other's view of it, but certainly they can produce children. As I mentioned before, they already have, and there are multiple ways in which they can do it. And if a benefit of the world to the world is the production of a child in the way that you said it is, the answer to that would be yes.
Right. Actually, those two people together cannot produce a child. They need a third. So a homosexual couple cannot produce a child without a third party. Do you agree with the statement, I should have the right to marry the person I love?
Sure. Sure.
Okay, so do you put any boundaries on that statement?
Maybe I would. Yeah, where are you going with this? Answer me a question.
So the brother and sister in Germany that were separated from birth met later in life.
This guy's obsessed with incest.
No. This is an issue, sir. Don't listen.
No,
you made a few sexual comments already, and that's the reason I was I was embarrassed that in a university debate you were doing that. That's why. Okay.
Oh, come on, Dr. Brown. Have a heart here. Remember, the organizers said to us that there's something, or at least to me.
Not to me.
Okay,
Not to me. So these are questions that must be addressed because they're in the courts, sir. There are attorneys in Germany that have used the precedent of same-sex marriage to say, why can't a brother and sister, or Lawrence v. Texas, the right to privacy. So should there be laws against consensual adult incest, and is that the government's business?
Sure. Okay, so the question about Lawrence v. Texas, I will remind you, was not about incest. And secondly, the claim about what's going on in Germany, I suspect there are things like this going on in Germany, I don't know. But if these are questions that must be answered, then I think we should organize a debate around these questions as I suggested to you earlier. It's not that I'm unafraid of answering any of these questions, it's that I promised certain people that I wouldn't get into it, and so I won't.
Well, that's perfectly fine, but I think, again, the non-answer is the answer. Last question, then. Is this, is it fair to a child to guarantee that he will either never have a father or never have a mother? Is it fair to a child? Okay,
is it fair? Let me ask this back to you. Are you asking a legal question or a moral question?
Moral question.
Okay, speaking, different people have different claims. So some people will think, sure, it's fair. Other people will think, no, it's not fair. That's the answer to your question on the moral claim. If you were asking a legal claim, I would answer that in a different way. And in fact, I thought you were going to go with a legal claim since we both started off saying that this is a question about law.
Well, we said this is a question about government recognition of things, and morals are part of that. Okay, we switch tables now.
Okay, as the speakers are switching, would the attendant bring me the questions that have been submitted so that I may review them? If you have a question, please hold it up so we can get all the last-minute ones in, and I'll allow Dr. Smaw to begin questioning Dr. Brown.
Okay, Dr. Brown, I'll raise this question for you. I said before that I questioned whether or not your research was astute. So I want to know why you did not point out, in all the research that you did point out, that there's research on both sides of this issue, and there's research supporting my position and research supporting yours.
The answer is simple, because the overwhelming research is supporting my position, which is why I hold that position. Now, I didn't spend 5 minutes on the internet. I spent 6 years researching for a book with over 1,500 endnotes and dove into it from every possible angle I could, and I could give you scholar after scholar after scholar who are gay activists who will agree with this. So that's why I quoted primarily gay activists and leaders in the midst of this. So the scholarship is overwhelming. The studies are overwhelming in one direction, and that's one reason why I hold to that. If the studies were overwhelmingly in the other direction, that would challenge me to the core in terms of certain of the things I said. But I cited what I did because it is the representative best scholarship.
I told you he'd say something like that. Dr. Brown.
For good reason.
Okay, all right, okay. Dr. Brown, besides the history lesson and besides the straightforward claim that marriage is something, which is a part of the history lesson, could you give us another justification for keeping marriage the way that it is?
Well, continuing to repeat that I gave a history lesson versus a justification is misleading. And the good thing is everything's videotaped and audio taped so folks can listen through it again. What I said is there is a reason for marriage, and there is a reason that the government recognizes marriage, and it is because it conveys benefits on the state, in particular joining a man and woman together in that unique union that has the potential between the two of them of responsible procreation. And it brings the two opposites together, male-female. It brings an environment where the woman can be protected by the man during pregnancy, where the woman can have a tempering effect on the man. One of my colleagues pointed out that you don't have too many married men running around in gangs. You do not have too many married men running around in gangs because there's a tempering effect of marriage, the male-female union. So male plus female produces a beautiful thing called marriage, which can then produce offspring and the next generation. Male plus female can't. That's not a history lesson. That's justification based on reality.
Okay, and does your reality include science? And I suggest that you mean I am tempered.
No, if you were tempered, you wouldn't have made that comment.
So now I would be more tempered, meaning that I am tempered, and I'll be more.
Okay,
and now that
to
I'm
be
not
exactly precise, this is the first point you scored on. Exactly right.
Okay,
you would
great.
be more tempered. I was not precise in that language.
Okay, Dr. Brown, great.
Just being fair, man.
Okay, all right. Sure,
and since we're secure in our heterosexuality,
I am
you
indeed.
get a hug on the way out, all right, man?
I told you he was attracted to me, didn't I? Don't be trying to fill me up, Dr. Brown. Rubbing all on me during a hugging session. Okay, so you raised this question, like what would happen? You had a lot of questions like what would happen if, what would happen if, what would happen if? I'd like for you to answer that question. What would happen if we allowed marriage equality?
If you call it marriage equality, then it has to be across the board. So the polyamorous would have to have special recognition. The polygamous would have to have special recognition. The incestuous relationships would have to. And again, this is being reported, mainstream media talking about it. You even watch the TV shows that are putting this forward as like the next wave of what's to come. It would also mean that you have a lot more kids growing up with gender identity confusion, that you have a lot more kids who don't really understand the role of a man, the role of a woman, how a mother and father relate and interact. So the best studies, and this is widely known in the gay community, the best studies of kids raised in same-sex households, those that have been statistically accurate, that have been rigorous enough, those studies have said many of these kids they're well-adjusted, they do well in school, they do fine in other areas of society, but they have a much higher percentage of gender confusion, they have a much higher percentage of pushing sexual bounds, and they have a much higher percentage themselves of, say a boy being raised by two mothers being feminized, a girl being raised by two mothers being masculinized. This is in studies. The reason it wasn't pointed out was gay activists said we thought this was a plus, not a minus. So you have a lot of societal changes, and the restriction of religious freedoms and rights would come on the heels of it without question.
Okay, could you tell me what the role of the man and woman is? Because so tell us about the role.
Yeah, the thing that's unfortunate is that draws applause, as if the kids that are here could say there's no difference between my mom and my dad, that they're exactly the same, and that one is dispensable.
Can I point out a confusion? You said that there's no difference between man and woman, but I didn't ask you if there was a difference. I asked about the role.
I understand that, and by role we're talking about differences, and what was unfortunate was the applause to that, as if there are no different roles. Of course we understand, same word, different roles here, the same concept. So there are roles that are, only a woman can get pregnant. There is a... Is that laughable? That only a woman can get pregnant? Is that a laughable comment?
No, what's laughable is that you called it a role.
See,
what's the role of the woman?
How about having babies? That's a role. Being able to produce it, that is a role. I mean, the thing that's unfortunate is that we even have to have this discussion. This is where it goes. This is the answer to your last question. It breaks down gender roles and